We up and I'm feeling like a new me. Stacking new sets, some new E. NFTs, all of them you need. Back in my zone like 2-3. All time high, hit a new peak. Let's go. Homie, the Bulls is back. I said the Bulls is back.
GM, welcome back to the channel. In this one, we are taking a look at Bitcoin. There is a lot to go through here in terms of the numbers on both the demand and supply side of the equation here. So kind of wanted to do a bit of an update on what's been going on with the ETF flows, etc. So let's jump into the data and see what's cooking. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel and we'll jump on in. So as we know, Bitcoin has its first spot ETF. So as of the start of January 2024, we have the ETF, and these ETF providers are buying up a load of Bitcoin for their customers. So there's 9 in total. And as you can see from the data here, currently they now cumulatively own 226,000 and change Bitcoins. Whereas we have MicroStrategy, the loudest voice in the room. And to be honest with you, SAYLOR looks like an absolute genius at this point. He, with all his big buys and what he's been doing, like levering up in terms of using MicroStrategy's stock to fund purchases of Bitcoin like an absolute degenerate, he only accumulated 190,000. Now I say only 190,000, of course that is a metric ton of BTC with a huge valuation there. But you can see that these guys with their ETFs have eclipsed that in short order. So we thought there was one maniac in the room. Now we have 9 here with consistent bid here for Bitcoin. Remember, SAYLOR just buying in those kind of chunks. He would digest those chunks, come back, buy some more. We're getting this almost TWAP, time weighted average price bid, like a DCA purchaser of BTC now with these ETFs, which has been amazing to see. In terms of coin shares here, you can really see from this diagram that we're kind of bear market versus bull market in terms of institutional flows into our crypto assets. Now, the majority of these purchases are for BTC only, as we can see if we just scroll down, but just do look at that picture there, bear market versus bull market. It is pretty damn obvious on the chart at this point. So if we just go down, you can see total flows for the week, over $1 billion into BTC. There are some nominal bids in here for ETH, but really that accumulation process hasn't begun as of yet on an institutional level, but it seems to be that the ETH ETF talk is now coming. Franklin Templeton have put in for an ETH ETF, so you're probably going to see in the next 12 months, maybe 18 months, 24 months, tops will have an ETH ETF as well. So ETH has some interesting supply dynamics around that. Don't want to digress too much, but again, that's going to get gigabid as well. So it bodes very well that the Bitcoin ETF has got off to an absolute flyer, even though some were claiming a sell when use event, but that was gobbled up pretty quickly. Nothing else really across the board here. A little bit of bid institutional wise for Cardano there and some others, but nothing really too much going on. If we do look at how things have progressed from those ETF numbers, you can see this was yesterday on the 12th of Feb, and this was one of the biggest days. So it seems that what we had was a bit of a banger of a start. The first couple of days were really good. Things started to taper off a little bit. This is only 1 week's worth of data here, but you can see 68 mil total flows, 33 mil. Then it started to increase 146, 405, half a bill. So we now are starting to see buys on a daily basis cumulatively of around $500 million, which really does play with the demand side here for Bitcoin. Just think of it from the basics of economics, supply versus demand. We're now seeing entities enter the chat here who are pretty damn hungry to buy up BTC. $500 million worth of demand is a ton of coins. Then if we think about the amount of mining rewards each and every day, we're currently mining 900 Bitcoins. So 900 Bitcoins, say a price of 50,000 US per BTC. That is $45 million worth of Bitcoin. So looking at that as a dollar valuation, $45 million. Well, yesterday, 500, more than 10x the actual emissions from the mining rewards were actually purchased here by the institution. So you can see there's going to be a big imbalance here. And at some point when the supply kicks in terms of that halving soon, which we'll touch on in just a second, yeah, the price simply just has to go up as there is too much demand and supply is being cut. On the flip side to this, someone who was kind of supplying some coins to the market here was GBTC. And this was one of the reasons why people were saying sell the news event, but GBTC had to offload a load of Bitcoins as people wanted to realize either a very, very good trade or maybe exit, wait 30 days and then re-enter into a different ETF product with lower fees. The GBTC fees are absolutely outrageous, so do not blame anyone for exiting that position. But as you can see, this is having less and less of a say on the overall outflows here, down to under 100 mil per day over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. So you can see that it's just tapering off, GBTC kind of overhang seemingly being done for. So when you see things from these very obvious graphs like this, it does put it into perspective a lot better. You can just see big green candles coming in, lots of Bitcoin inflows, a lot of Bitcoin being taken from the weak hands into the institutions. Likely as well that the people who are buying this through these ETFs are going to be longer term holders. It's not like people are using these ETFs to day trade or anything like that. And what we're seeing is that these ETF providers are now like pretty much promoting like 1 to 3% allocation into BTC. So we have the early signs of what is going to be a consistent TWAP DCA into the big orange coin. So as we know, demand is certainly up here, but how about supply? Well, 68 days from today, according to this here, 22nd of April will be the halving in 2024. So as mentioned, the block rewards will reduce. They're coming from 6.5 down to 3.25 Bitcoins per block. This means on a daily basis, we're going to go from 900 Bitcoin being mined down to 450. So if you can just imagine that as if it was some form of raw material, half of the amount of those materials now being mined. But as we saw, we're seeing increased demand. So increased demand is already pushing the price up, yet we're going to have the supply shock also. So the Rational Root posted this one and just made me think that we maybe are going to see a cycle similar to halving number 2 here. Of course, the last market cycle was a pretty rough one in terms of the actual structure of it. So this was the halving number 2, which you can see this kind of DCA strategy, almost like a TWAP into Bitcoin, which means price just keeps grinding on up higher and higher and higher, and then we have a parabolic move. Whereas the last cycle, the COVID cycle, whatever you want to call it, the bear market had a big rally and then a sell-off, and then we had the COVID dump, plus we had a double top cycle as well. So overall, the structure of this one was a pretty crazy ride overall. But as we can see going into halving 4, this one coming in 2024, we kind of have this kind of TWAP behavior, as I would call it, similar to halving number 2, just a bit of a consistent slow grind up, which is kind of what we felt here over the last year or so. Things generally for Bitcoin have just grinded on up. We haven't had any crazy pullbacks at all, more like 30% max, nothing absolutely stomach churning. And so it does seem, in my opinion, maybe we'll just follow suit with this previous, halving number 2 cycle, and we'll have this kind of consistent increase in BTC price before the parabola. So you can kind of feel this right now in the market. We've certainly had at least one full leg of the market, maybe even 2 or maybe even 3 if you've been in since early 2023. I think there's the argument that we've had 3 kind of legs up in the market so far. And as a bull run does actually progress, just thinking about the term bull run, the pace of the market will increase. So this is what I'm thinking here. We're going to see some, nice moves up for BTC, and then it will end in a parabola as people really do FOMO in. Just think about anything you've seen in the real world in terms of people panicking, people scared for things. People behave very irrationally when things work against them. And in terms of Bitcoin, price is starting to work against people, and they're going to get itchy fingers, and they're going to want to come in off the sidelines, and they're going to want to end up levering up, aping all their funds in and buying this thing, and that is what's going to cause the parabola, in my opinion. Then from a macro perspective, what we're seeing here is the kind of liquidity cycle with global M2 liquidity here. Peaks out, we have our 2018 market cycle top, peaks again, bit of a double top here. We have, another market cycle top in 2021. Global liquidity comes down. We're having our bear market, and of course the infamous FTX crash in there. And then as you can see, liquidity globally is on the up and up yet again, and Bitcoin is just following along with that. And you can see that happening. China, economically not very good. They're printing a load of money. They're pretty much banning short selling of their stocks, pumping the markets, printing money. You're seeing that in Europe. Europe economically is effed, as is the UK. And so they're trying different things to try and stimulate the economies now. We haven't gone into full QE, but for example, here in the UK, they're starting to come out with ideas such as the 1% mortgage. So you can lever up 99 to 1 with money you don't have. So you can see they're trying to keep the Ponzi rolling. And additional to this, of course, we have the US economy, which is likely to try and bribe some voters going into the election, at least pump markets, probably give some form of handouts or some relief to citizens to try and get them on side for the presidential election. So a lot of things going in the way of Bitcoin. Just look at the chart here today. Little bit of a sell-off. So all noise in the overall picture, as we've just seen. Demand up, supply is about to get cut in less than 70 days. And we have these little volatility events in between. So today's volatility event was CPI in the US being 0.2% higher than expected. I think it was coming in supposedly at 2.9%. It came in at 3. Oh no, markets crashed, $1,500. But no sweat in my humble opinion. I think the writing is pretty much on the wall here. And what we'll actually see, and I think we've started to hear rumblings of this, is that the 2% inflation target will start to become a 3% inflation target. So our numbers today are likely to be what the new normal, what their kind of estimates, kind of what their new targets are going to be. We've definitely heard that in the media a couple of times now, around 3%. I think we're going to hear a lot more of that going into the next year or so. So not financial advice, but all dips are to be bought. You need to own assets in these market conditions. Things are absolutely primed for a glorious bull run here. So looking forward to seeing how things play out. Of course, take profits on the way up. Enjoy the ride. We'll see you in the next one. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.